Okay, good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. LAFCO, make sure everybody knows where they're at. We're at tonight's LAFCO meeting. We're going to start off with a pledge of allegiance, and we'll go from there. If everybody could please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, again, thank you everyone for being here tonight. If we could start off with introductions here up on the commission, all the commissioners.
Brad Hahn, public member.
Tom Dunlop, city member.
Jim DeMartini, county member.
Terry Withrow, county member.
Mike Van Winkle, city member.
Annabelle Gammon, alternate public member.
Sarah Lytle-Penny, executive officer.
Javier Camarena, assistant executive officer.
Rob Taro, LAFCO counsel.
Jennifer Goss, commission clerk.
Very good, thank you guys. Okay, we're going to start off here first with public comment. So I've got 3 speaker cards here, and we ask you to speak for no more than 5 minutes. Sorry.
Those are for item 7A.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, perfect. Thank you. These are different. Ours on the Board of Supervisors are yellow, so these are white. It really threw me off, different color here. Okay, so is there anyone for public comment besides what we have on the agenda here? Okay, seeing none, we will move on to our approval of the minutes from the March 22nd meeting. Everybody's had a chance to look at it, and we'll look for a motion.
Move to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good. Let's move on to correspondence.
There's no specific correspondence for you tonight.
Very good. Okay. Any declaration of conflicts from any of the commissioners? Very good. Let's move on to our consent calendar. Anything on the consent calendar that anybody would like to pull and talk about? Seeing none, anyone in the audience like to pull anything from the consent calendar? Okay, if not, then we will move on and look for a motion for the consent calendar.
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you. Move on to item 7A, selection of public and alternate public members.
So tonight, staff is recommending that the commission review the attached applications that are with your packet and appoint a public member and alternate public member to LAFCO to fill the upcoming vacancies. Appointment is made by the other member categories on the commission, the city and the county voting members. So there's 4 voting members tonight. The commission can open this item up for statements from the candidates and comments from the public, and then from there, you can make a motion as you wish.
Very good. Is that okay with everybody if we, Mr. Hahn has left the dais to, okay, if we open this up for some public comment statements from the candidates, and then we'll bring it back here. Is everybody okay with that? Okay. Let's do that. Let's start off with some statements from the candidates here, I guess. Pat. How are you, Pat?
I'm great.
Good.
It's after tax season.
It is much better. Life is better. That's right.
Life is better.
Very good.
I'm excited about the possibility of serving on the LAFCO board. As you probably read my resume, I've been in the area for a long time, and I've been involved in the community for a long time on various topics and things, especially children. I decided to apply because I've been here 19 years on the west side and my whole life other than that. And I'd like to make sure that the public is represented carefully in the decisions that are made. LAFCO has got a wonderful reputation. It also has, there's been things going on in the past. I remember growing up, and I remember when Beano's was way out in the country, things of that nature. That dates me, but that's okay. I really would like to be a part of LAFCO so I could use the tools that you have to be able to have orderly growth, preserve farmland and the such. I think that the legislature is very much behind you because of all the things that they've done, including the disadvantaged areas from SB 244 a few years ago. I think it's important that all citizens are represented. I'm not a farmer, I'm not a developer, I'm just a person that lives in the city of Modesto for all of her life and watched it grow. I'd be proud to lend my knowledge to LAFCO and commitment to my integrity and my independence. Part of my life is independence for my job, and that's what I could bring to you. I would help you discourage sprawl, have orderly government boundaries, and preserve open space and ag land. So I'm here, and if you have any questions, otherwise I'm here to serve.
Very good. Thanks, Pat. Before you leave, Pat, any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Pat?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pat. And then next, I don't see Matt here.
Probably in traffic.
Okay. Okay, so let's go. Mr. Hahn. Please state your name for the record.
Brad Hahn. I have been on LAFCO for quite a few years, and I've enjoyed the role in being able to help balance the needs between cities and the farmland and the whole. We live in a very unique area because there's hardly any place that isn't prime farmland. So it's a balance between the two, the needs of both, and LAFCO's it was set up, and a lot of it has to do, a lot of my motivation for getting on it is because of all the county pockets that are around the cities, and that's why LAFCO was formed originally, is to prevent that type of thing where there's like the airport neighborhood. You go through the airport neighborhood off of Yosemite, and it's county, and then it's city beyond that, and so there's a lot of disparity in the services that go on there, and LAFCO's job is to prevent that from happening, and be sure that the services that are needed for growth inside a municipality are met with water supply and police, fire, and all those other services. So I've enjoyed being a part of it, and really look forward to continuing that. And it was already stated, but I'm applying for the alternate public member. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for Brad? Okay, seeing none. Matt, you're up.
All right, thank you. We're just starting by making comments.
What's that?
We're just starting by making comments.
Yeah, we're going to start off with that, and then we're going to have some public comments, and then bring it back to the board here. So,
first, let me apologize for my tardiness. I had a babysitter that was late, unfortunately. But anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I think it's important that I kind of address the elephant in the room, to be honest with you. I think there's been some speculation on why I'm doing this and what my intentions are. And I just want to publicly offer the board and the public that, in no way is this an attempt to be vindictive or settle scores or anything like that. My intentions are the same exact intentions I had when I wanted to be an alternate city member years ago. LAFCOs offer a very, very important function within our county and within municipal governance. And I felt that then, and as an alternate, I felt that, and it really is what compelled me to run for Cal LAFCO. It was a learning opportunity, and even when I was on Cal LAFCO, I volunteered to be on the Ledge Committee, and when I did that, I also learned more about passing legislation. We actually passed some legislation streamlining out-of-boundary service extensions based on health concerns, and my kind of trajectory with LAFCOs, the more I participated, the more I valued it, the more I thought it was important. And I'm obviously running for the public seat. I'm not in elected office anymore. I chose to not seek a third term as mayor of Houston, primarily because I'm expanding my business out of state into the great state of North Dakota, and requires more travel time. So the meetings, a lot less meetings on LAFCO versus being a mayor of a city, and that's really what compels me. LAFCO is important. Whoever ends up becoming the public member needs to hit the ground running. And that's kind of, I realize I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm prepared to do that. And, I have my experience, I think would indicate that also. So that's all I have at this point, unless there's any additional questions.
Very good. Thanks, Matt. Any questions for Matt? Okay. All right. Thank you. So at this point, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to, we'll go through the some of the public comments here, and then see if we have anything else from the public, and we'll bring it back to the board here. Okay. The first one I have is Mrs. Lonnie Turner. Lonnie, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lonnie Turner, as you just heard. I live on Beckwith Road in Wood Colony in Stanislaus County. I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you this evening in support of Matthew Beekman. I felt strongly, along with many other people, in 2015 that it was wrong for Mr. Beekman to be removed from the LAFCO board simply because of his beliefs and convictions around the issues of growth and his vote on the LAFCO board in support of ag mitigation inline fees. This is your opportunity to correct that original transgression. It is imperative that we have a reasonable voice on the LAFCO board, one that brings an agricultural perspective to any discussions concerning land use and urbanization. I encourage you all to appoint Mr. Beekman as a regular public member of the Stanislaus LAFCO board. I am confident that he has the needed qualifications and will be an insightful, informed, and responsible member of LAFCO. Thank you.
Thanks, Lonnie. Okay. We got another card here. All right, next up, Jeannie Ferrari. Jeannie, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
I'm Jeannie Ferrari, a resident of Turlock. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I understand the extremely important role that LAFCOs perform in the 58 counties in California. From its inception, two of the key assignments of the statewide commission were to protect farmland and open space while promoting orderly and efficient urban growth. As one of the nation's leading ag counties, it seems reasonable that Stanislaus LAFCO would commit to the long-term protection of our high-quality farmland. If not now, when? Major food-producing counties in this part of the Great Central Valley have preserved thousands of acres of farmland. San Joaquin County has conservation easements on 2,200 acres. Merced County has nearly 11,000 acres preserved. Yolo County has preserved 16,000 acres. That figure doesn't include rangeland or open space. There are impressive farmland preservation numbers from many counties in Northern California. Those counties are committed to smart growth and economic development as well. In a letter to the editor regarding Matt Beekman, Turlock's Mayor Soy Seth wrote, "I appreciate his conviction and dedication to preserving farmland. Mayor Beekman's LAFCO vote was based on good logic, well-reasoned arguments, and prudent judgment. Mayor Beekman took the entire region's interests into consideration. When he cast his vote, Mayor Beekman based it on what he knows to be true. He is a man of integrity and conviction, a man that not only votes his conscience, but he also votes on behalf of the farmers and the city residents alike. Matt Beekman would bring to the commission a strong voice for the long-term preservation of farmland. I would hope that he would inspire other commissioners to uphold the commission's agricultural preservation policy. Matt Beekman has the LAFCO knowledge and experience to address the goals of this important commission. I ask that tonight the voting members of LAFCO consider the very important role of the public member. Matt Beekman has proven that he represents the purposes of LAFCO and should be commended for being honored as Outstanding Commissioner of the Year by the California Association of Local Formation Commissioners. Mr. Beekman has proven himself to be principled and focused in representing the goals of LAFCO. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeannie. Okay. Next up, Alan Gammon. Alan, how are you?
I'm good, Terry. Commissioners, I'm here as a member of the public to support Matt Beekman. As you know, LAFCO was formed in the beginning and continues to be primarily to preserve agricultural land resources. This is your own handout for every LAFCO meeting. It really makes a mockery of our institutions when we have commissions and committees that have goals, stated goals, and purposes when they don't follow those purposes. So it's essential, I think, that the commissioners of LAFCO have a commitment to farmland. That should be a requirement, a qualification. Secondly, I think all of us understand that experience matters. You have a candidate here who has very significant experience, educationally, politically, on the commission. I think he's clearly the most qualified person to fill this public position. And I urge you to support him. And I know that Matt Beekman will represent the goals that you purport to represent. I appreciate your vote for Matt Beekman. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. Okay, and the last speaker card we have here is for Josh Whitfield.
Never a good sign, gentlemen, when I show up. So, Commissioners, Mr. Dunlop, Terry, Jim, Mayor Van Winkle, Ms. Gammon, thank you for hearing me. I'm going to rise in support tonight of my friend and former colleague, Matthew Beekman. Mayor Beekman and I have gotten to know each other over the years. I can't speak to the politics of LAFCO. I know some of the speakers have, but I can speak to Mayor Beekman's experience. Certainly his resume, his agenda is qualified. I'm sure the other candidate is very qualified. I don't know Pat that well, but it's always great when we have two outstanding citizens come before boards like this and come on. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Hahn for his excellent work on this commission and his continued service to the Modesto and Stanislaus County. I just want to say I can speak to Mayor Beekman's character. We got to know each other when we worked very hard to return ethical government to the city of Houston, which was no small battle in 2010. And in moments of extreme crisis, in moments of extreme public pressure, as we all know as public officials, when the pressure cooker is turned to its highest, that's when you get to see a character of a fellow colleague. And in my opinion, during that time that I got to see Matt in action, his integrity and his character, in my opinion, is unimpeachable. With that, I thank you for your time. I wish both candidates the best of luck, and you, this commission, all the best in attempting to come to a decision on our new makeup of LAFCO. Please continue your great work that you all do on behalf of our county. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, that's all the speaker cards we have. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment here before we bring it back to the board? Okay, seeing none, we will bring this back to the board. And let's see what everyone's pleasure is here. Any comments?
Well, I guess I'll start. No criticism. I appreciate the people that applied, but when I see public member, I see somebody from the public. It has a fresh face, a new person that's going to bring a new outlook not an outlook from a past elected person or someone who's spent many years dealing with government. I expect to try to see if we can have somebody that's has a fresh look at what goes on in countywide government as well as other issues in local government. I'm a little disappointed at that we don't have more people willing to serve and bring a fresh look to the to governments in Stanislaus County.
Well, I can speak too. I think all three of the people are fine people over here. I have no problem or bone to pick with any of them. On the position of public member, though, I intend to support Mr. Beekman tonight. I see a little different than Tom, and I think the experience is important. He has won an award for Commissioner of the Year from Cal LAFCO, which is, a tremendous achievement. And I've known him, personally for several years, and I find he's a guy of integrity, and he's makes sound judgment. He has the experience, and I believe he's the most qualified, and I would intend to support him tonight. And then Mr. Hahn, we need an engineer on the board too, so I would support him also.
Very good, thanks, Jim. Annabelle?
Okay. This is sort of a very important meeting for me. It's going to be my last meeting. I served in the Stanislaus Planning Commission for 8 years and was very interested in coming on to LAFCO because I felt that I had something to offer, and the experience of, we were very lucky at the Planning Commission because it was a very exciting 8 years. We had the ag mitigation program that came before us, a general plan update. So we were able to do a lot of work at the Planning Commission level. I decided to apply for the LAFCO because I think at the end of the day, the Planning Commissioners just advise the supervisors. And I think LAFCO, I saw, because I was involved with the Riverbank update many years ago, I saw that there was a growth issue where cities were just trying to expand further than what they could really support in terms of roads and services. And I always believe in quality of life, and I just felt the air was bad. And so I really got interested in LAFCO because this was the commission that decided about how far a city can grow and really in an orderly manner plan a very good county. We have very good opportunities here in this county. We have very good farmland, and we also need economic growth. I understand that, but there's always a balance that I felt was not present. And so when I applied, we had a lot more applicants for the positions. And Ron Freitas was the alternate when I applied, and I assumed he was going to be the person to go high. And I was told when I applied that, I needed experience. Even if I served in the Planning Commission for 8 years, they wanted me to serve as an alternate so I could get some training. So that night was a big surprise for me when Ron Freitas didn't get the vote to become the public member. Brad Hahn was. And I was also luckily surprised that I was the alternate, and also excited, but also shocked. So I thought about this position and applying also for the next step, but I realized that, and I was hoping that Matt Beekman would consider applying for the job. I was up here when he was ousted out, and that was a sad day for everybody, I think. And not to go historic on this, everybody has their own points. but we really need to get serious and united. Now, I know you need 2 votes. I know how to count votes, and I just hope that that Matt Beekman will be, I can say this, right? I can't vote, but I guess I can't say
You're
this.
able to comment. Yeah.
Yes. Also, I have a question of council. What is the consecutive term limitation for public member?
Well, the rule of our LAFCO is that the regular member can have 1 4-year term, and the alternate member can have 1 4-year term.
Yes.
And that's it. And that's the rule.
Okay. So, just for hypothetical, Brad Hahn was the public member, and now he's applying for the alternate. After he finishes that, that's already 2 terms. So can he go and apply back?
Well, again, the rule is that, what was your question? Can he do what?
Can Brad, if Brad is elected or selected here tonight, then, and he does 4 years
As an alternate?
as an alternate, then is that it, or could he come back again?
No, my understanding is that would be it.
Okay. Because I feel, the reason I asked that is because I feel the 4 years I spent as an alternate really gave me, the training. I understand what Commissioner Dunlap is saying. I think that public member is very important to be a public post. But with what we have, I feel like we have a very good candidate for an alternate and also a good candidate for, we have good candidates for the positions of alternate. I was just curious about the terms, the limit terms. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to make that comment.
Okay, thanks, Annabelle. Any other comments? Okay, so I want to thank everybody first for being here tonight. I think this is an important spot that LAFCO is very important. As far as things here in the county, LAFCO can do things and is here as a board to different than the Board of Supervisors, different than the city councils, so it's a very crucial role for members of LAFCO. And we have very qualified candidates, and we're lucky and blessed to have very qualified candidates here tonight. So that's a good thing. So I guess we're going to have to maybe start this off with see if anybody wants to make a motion, and we can start either with the alternate or we can start with the public member. So what's the board's pleasure here?
Motion to appoint Matt Beekman for the public member.
Okay, so we have a motion to appoint Matt Beekman as a public member. Do we have a second? Okay, I will make that second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further comments here? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. There was our first motion. Next up, anybody? Do we have any other motions here?
I make a motion to appoint Pat Gillen.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint Pat as public member. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No? Okay, there we go. So we're in a dead heat here. Let's move on to, how about we move on to our alternate right now? Do we have a motion with regard to the alternate?
Make a motion to appoint Brad Hahn as the alternate.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Very good, and there's one. Okay. So I'm going to look to county council here, where we need to go at this point with the 2-2. I think that we have a couple options, and you correct me, Rob, if I'm wrong here. We could put this back out again for have it come back to the board, maybe postpone this and come back to the next meeting and see if we get more applicants. Is that right? This same applicants?
Well, you could open it for additional applicants. There's timing requirements and such, but you could do that.
What are we up against as far as time?
I'll defer to.
Timing-wise, we would open it up immediately. Applications would have to be due at least a week prior to the next meeting. So our next commission meeting is May 24th, if you were to continue the item. Applications would probably be due by May 17th. So it really only gives a
couple weeks, yeah.
2.5 weeks or so.
To get some applicants in here. Okay. If we can't, and I guess we can, I'm going to put this back to the board here again and let everybody see what they'd like to do at this point. Would you guys like to open it up again for more applicants? Any other comments?
I would like to see more applicants, hopefully get a little more press with this meeting, and see if we have some more community members who are interested in serving.
Okay. Any other comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Ann.
So we have appointed, and you have appointed, I can't vote, Brad Hahn to be alternate. That has passed.
That has passed, yes.
So basically, after he finishes 4 years, he can't apply for a position again.
Right, as we understand it.
Right.
So basically, we've lost a chance to have somebody as an alternate for 4 years to do some training. I just want to make that comment.
Okay. So any other thoughts as far as where you guys want to go forward? If we do open this up again for everyone to apply, we could still have the same applicants apply, I'm sure, in addition to new applicants. Where are we? What do you guys want to do?
I would echo Tom's comment, open it back up, see if we could get actually public members.
Okay. Jim, you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. So I think that sounds like that's kind of the mood of the board here, is that we will put this back up again for, look for applicants again. And
Why don't we, Mr. Chairman, why don't we have a motion and a vote just
Okay.
for the procedural
let's have
clarity?
do we have a motion for that?
I'll move that we reopen until May 17th.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. Okay, I apologize that we couldn't come to a, that's why we have commissions that are uneven numbers. 'Cause- I'm sorry, come on up, Pat.
I just have a question. Procedurally then, am I reapplying? Do I send in another application, or is mine standing? How does that work? I just want to make sure I do it right.
Rob?
If you're reopening, do I need
Sure. Good question.
to send it again or not?
Very good question. Rob, do we need to go, or
We
Sarah?
actually, well, the applications that we have on hand, we actually would keep those as active applications for a year. So if the candidates are still interested, we would have them included along with any new candidates at the next meeting.
Okay. Okay. Jeannie, come on up.
There were 4 people voting this evening, 4 members. Is that what you normally have voting for?
Normally we would have 5, but yeah.
So with regard to the appointment of the public member,
Oh.
the law is, the actual statute is Government Code Section 56325. It's actually in the pamphlet. And so because it's a unique situation where it's the appointment of the public member, it's a little bit different rule of law in as much as that the public member is placed on the commission by the other members. In this case, so the other members, of course, are the county members and then the city members. And then the law further requires that to be seated as the public member, there has to be an affirmative vote by at least 1 county member and 1 city member. And so therein was the problem this evening, is we had, you saw how the votes went. So we didn't have, there has to be at least one from each other body, how they got there. And so it wasn't just that it was a 2-2, it was that it was 2 county and 2 city.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm Ken Wilmarth. It is the procedure then that exactly the same four will be voting the next time around and the next time around and the next time around? Or is there some process for breaking a tie through deliberations within the LAFCO? It seems to me that this is a blind alley unless there's some procedure for getting back to an uneven number so that you can have a vote. I'm very puzzled. So the alternate does not vote in this capacity, and the new alternate will not be placed until these are both resolved. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think the new alternate can come on now, can't they, Rob?
Yes,
but the
will
alternate
not be
won't
able to vote.
Yeah.
Okay, because of that 1+1.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, so I know this is disappointing for everyone. I think again we have two very good candidates here, and it's too bad that we don't have a consensus. Like I said, like what Rob said, we do have to have at least one county and one city member to make this work anyway. So we will have to bring this back for our next meeting, and we will see where we stand at that point with applicants, and go through this again. Again, Rob, if we're say we don't receive any more applicants, we end up in the same spot again, and then we'll be past the deadline. So then where do we go from there?
I'll be able to provide more information on that at the next meeting. But
Okay.
it's the same rule of law. It's so the last gentleman asked, there's a couple different questions there that he asked. So, but the rule of law doesn't change. It requires one affirmative vote from each appointing body. And so it's not that the alternate city member, the alternate public member is not whether or not she's eligible to vote or he's eligible to vote. It's because they're the alternate. It's because they're the public member.
Right.
So it comes down to the appointing authority being a yea vote by at least one county member and one city member. But yeah, that's the rule of law, and that's what's required. And the commission is obviously required to have that position filled. So, one of the questions was, I guess the answer could be yes, more deliberations. It's up to the commission if they, when we have the next meeting, if there's no other candidates, to continue to deliberate and discuss.
So the regular city member might be here for the next meeting. That would be a different person voting.
Right, that's an important point, Commissioner. Thank you. That with the question the last gentleman asked, it's not necessarily the same floor. We'll have a hearing and such, but it still requires one city, one county, and there's the regular members and then the alternate members for each body. So tonight, obviously, for the record, we don't have a regular city member and we don't have the alternate county member present tonight.
So next meeting, that's true. We will have the chair, the current chair, Amy Bublack, will be back here. We'll see, and take Mike's spot there. So we'll see where this goes. Okay, so we will bring this back next month. I apologize to everyone that we could not come to a decision here. We appreciate very much the applicants being here, and we will be back here again next month on this with this on the agenda. So. Thank you. Okay, we will move on to item 8, proposed budget for the fiscal year ended 2017-18.
I'll give them a moment. Okay, so LAFCO, as an independent commission, is funded by the county and 9 cities, and the commission is responsible for adopting a budget each year for its operations. Staff has prepared for you tonight the proposed budget for 2017-2018. And there are 2 parts of the process that staff undertakes when preparing the budget. The first is we actually go back and look at a fund balance analysis, where we started in the current year, where we project that we'll end up in this fiscal year. That helps us to factor in how much fund balance is potentially available for reserve funds, and also how much is potentially available to fund back to the county and the 9 cities. When we get into the actual budget preparation itself, we do a review of current and projected activity that we foresee, and we also review the county's cost allocation plan, or CAP charges, that we receive. I kind of discussed a little bit in the packet there for you, but we do still use many of the county's services that we get charged for. So in the fund balance analysis that's also in your packet, I'm projecting here that at year end, at current year end, we'll have an undesignated fund balance of 154,000 some odd. That would be taking into account the Commission's reserve fund, which is a 15% reserve, as well as a accrued leave fund, which is based on actual cash out liability. Some of the highlights for the proposed budget: there's an overall increase, a 10% increase in expenses as compared to the current year. You'll remember last year was a bit of an anomaly. We actually had a dip down in the budget. We were still at 2.5 employees, and we increased that back to the 3 full-time employees. So you're seeing kind of the effect of having 3 full-time employees and also the corresponding salary and benefit increases that were approved by the county. LAFCO's employees mirror the county's system in terms of benefits and salaries. So any increase that they have is also reflected in our budget. And then new to this year was something that actually got approved in the current fiscal year, although it was after our budget, for video streaming, recording, and televising the meetings. So now we have that budgeted appropriately in the account where it belongs and not our miscellaneous fund. So overall, the budget supports essential LAFCO services, and it keeps our municipal service review work program up to date. Here's the little summary chart for the proposed budget. You'll see the salaries and benefits as the primary increase in expenses. We did have a slight decrease in services and supplies. That was primarily due to not needing the biennial 2-year audit. So that's not included there. You'll also see that I'm proposing using $70,000 of undesignated fund balance to credit back to the funding agencies. That would take the agency contributions back to the level they were at in 2015, 2016. And that was also during the time we had 2.5 employees. So we're basically charging the funding agencies the same amount that we did 2 years ago, but we're back to the 3 employees. So there's the agency contribution I was talking about. So I also included in your chart a little discussion about a couple of options that were looked at of how to deal with our remaining fund balance. You'll remember that a few years back we actually rebated back to the funding agencies a large amount of accumulated fund balance. It was a little over $430,000, I think. So we had depleted the fund balance. We set aside some for our reserves, and we do have some leftover that we're still depleting that we could still give back. And what I'm proposing here is, instead of returning it all at once and having the contributions dip down and then rise back up next year, that we're depleting it back a little more slowly to sort of soften the impact to our funding agencies. And this is kind of a comparison. The blue line is our LAFCO operating budget. The red line has been historically our agency contributions, with a little forecast there for 2 more years. So the proposal that I'm using to kind of split up what remaining fund balance we have, which is $70,000 this year and probably a little less next year, will help the agency contributions just do a steady return back to what the operating budget is, instead of giving a one-time drawdown and having the contributions suddenly go up $200,000 in a year. And this is what our fund balance has been looking like. You can see we had a very healthy fund balance back in fiscal year 14-15. That huge drop that you're seeing is when we rebated back or refunded back the large amount, over $400,000. And then we've been using the remaining of it to offset agency contributions since. You'll see that it gets down to the fund balance for the forecast for fiscal year 19-20 and actually the end of fiscal year 1920, that we get down to a level where the fund balance is about $150,000. That's right around where our reserves tend to be at. So once we get to that point, we're even. We're probably no longer offsetting the budget as much with our fund balance. I did put a reminder in there about GASB 68. We actually talked about this last year, and we had Kashmir from the County Auditor's Office explain this a little bit. This was the long-term pension liabilities that are now being reported on LAFCO's balance sheet. And so we're kind of sort of reminding the Commission that, in as much as we have pretty healthy fund balance that we're giving back, we do also have a long-term liability that is showing up on the books. It's not something that's expected to be paid immediately, but it is something to keep in mind in the background. Unfortunately for LAFCO, it's not the giant numbers that you're seeing with county organizations, but it is something there to keep in mind and to track on a yearly basis. So there's also a little discussion in there about our work program and our application activity. We started an annual process of the Commission adopting a work program for staff to complete our state-mandated municipal service reviews. And so there's some information there about what we've completed thus far. And then also in your packet is projections of what we think we're going to have in terms of application activity in the upcoming year. We do see a steady increase both in inquiries and pre-application meetings of things coming down the line. So the next steps here, the proposed budget must be adopted by May 1st. You can do so, you can adopt it at staff's recommendation, or you can adopt it with proposed changes to be included in the final budget. The final budget must be adopted by June 15th, and then following adoption, the county auditor will send notices out to the funding agencies. The staff recommendation is that you open the public hearing, that you adopt resolution number 2017-05 approving the budget, and that you schedule the next hearing for May 24th to adopt the final LAFCO budget. And staff is available if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions of staff before we open the public hearing? I have just one, sir. Just so we, we know we have this liability that we talked about the screen. What was it, 200? That's new, added to the balance sheet, right? That's and so I just, as we continue to bring the reserves down, refund this money back to the agencies. I guess I just question, should we be doing that or not, since we know that we have this kind of thing lurching out there in the distance.
Yeah, when I went back and, you may remember our discussion about the reserve fund that we had back when we discovered the fund balance was in a large stage, $600,000 or so of fund balance. We had a discussion at that time of, should we set some of this aside as a safety net? And the Commission stated, well, really that's the city and county's money that you're holding on to, and why are you holding on to it? You should really just give that back, and then as you need additional reserve funds or money, then you would go back and collect those annually. Whether we would have to collect annually suddenly a $260,000 amount, I doubt that it would hit all at once immediately, but it may be wise to start setting aside at least smaller amounts of what we have remaining in a long-term sense, not all in one big lump, but maybe a long-term strategy.
I mean, that was just a thought. We do set aside, we've got reserves here that we are for other things, and maybe this is something we need to start to set aside now, because if it did come up, and not that it would come up all at once, and then we go to the agencies, and that could be a problem for an agency to, anyway. Any thoughts?
Just to continue with that, that would be my suggestion, that we separate a separate fund or account and put that money and fund that estimated amount. I think that's what all agencies should be moving towards, and just because we're part of the county doesn't really change that, or we can go ask for money, I guess you'd say. I don't think it changes that. I don't think we should refund it. I think we should make sure we fund our obligations as LAFCO first and make sure our books are in order.
I would just add to that if you could come up with some scenarios that shows us what, I mean, it's basically retirement, right?
Yeah.
So if you could show us a few scenarios that say that, you know, at year so-and-so, we should be at this level, then we can start looking ahead and planning how fast we need to put it away. I mean, if everybody's ready to retire in the next 3 years, then we got a problem. But if it's over time, we may have time to build it up.
Good. Any other comments? Yeah, so maybe we can, okay, well, let's open the public hearing. Maybe we'll do. Okay, we will open the public hearing for LAFCO's proposed budget. Any comments from the public? Alan, come on up.
Yes, Commissioners, speaking as a public citizen, I wanted to personally thank Sarah for getting LAFCO video streaming. I think Commissioner Dunlop's point is well taken. You've gone from 9 applicants to 3 applicants to a very important commission in our community, one which most of our community doesn't even know what it is. And one of the ways to educate our community about what LAFCO is and what it does is to video stream it. So, good work. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Alan. Any other public comments regarding the budget? Okay, we will close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board here. And what is the will of the board? Commission.
Can we make a motion applying the surplus to an account, or suggesting that, to apply it to account? Because I just know my experience in government is that estimation's probably low. You know, it's probably low.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to have to go back to the agencies and say, hey, each one of you have to put up 75,000 more this year, because all of a sudden the state changes the rules again. So I'd rather get started in that direction.
So so what Tom's saying, maybe we could, do we still have time? You could come back to us next month with a formula of somehow a method to our madness, to say as far as how we would start to put some of this money away, and maybe reduce take it from that 70,000, I guess is what we would be doing, right?
I thought that the budget had to be approved by May 1st.
You can still approve it with recommendations. You're not approving necessarily a final number, but you could say, you know, you're approving the operating expenses as recommended, and then with direction to staff to come back regarding the use of fund balance.
Okay, because we have to do something tonight.
Right. Okay.
Well, the federal government doesn't have to do it on time, do they? But we do. And we should follow that.
Well, I'll move that we accept the proposed 2017-2018 budget as stated in the agenda, as well as adding the staff to return with a plan to fund unfunded obligations.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move on to any commissioner comments. Seeing none. Additional matters? Oh, I'm sorry, Annabelle, I'm sorry.
Well, today's my last meeting, unless I apply. I have enjoyed sitting with you guys. I feel kind of special. I'm the only woman here tonight. But I really hope, I'm an idealist, and I really hope that this commission will do the right thing and do what we're supposed to be doing. And because it's very important for the health of the county and for our children and grandchildren, it's really a serious matter. And this coming year, I think it's going to have a lot of activity with LAFCO, with all of the applications coming in. And I leave tonight with farewell, but also I really hope we do the right thing, the choice for the public member. It's very important. I think I was fortunate to be really, truly a public member, and I've enjoyed it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks, Annabelle. Okay, Executive Officer's report.
So we do have two upcoming projects that we just received environmental referrals for that I wanted to let you know about. One is a notice of preparation that we received for Crossroads West specific plan for Riverbank. And then the other is a draft EIR that we received for the Northwest Newman Master Plan. So those are both projects that are in the process, probably we'll be seeing in the next fiscal year. We're also expecting to see a smaller annexation from the city of Newman that was recently approved by their city council. And then for next month, it's looking like we'll have final budget and continuation of the selection for regular public member. And that's all I have.
Very good. And I'm just going to add one last thing, Annabelle, thanking you for all that you've done here.
You're very welcome.
We very much appreciate your passion and your heart in dealing with all these things, and we will miss you, but hopefully we'll still see you, or you can see us with the video streaming.
Oh,
maybe.
I will come to the meeting.
Very good.
It's one of the joys I'm going to have.
Very good.
Are you going to do this?
To whom?
From there, you can come up there and.
Maybe, but really, guys, it's really been a pleasure, and I've enjoyed being part of the county's job in land use, and I am passionate. So you will see me sitting out there, believe me.
We hope so. Very good. Thank you for everything, Annabelle.
Oh, I'd like to say also, I'm going to miss calling Sarah and Javier and Jennifer and bothering you every day before a big meeting. But
You can still call them and bother them before a big meeting.
no, they have lots to do. But really, I'll say this because I'm passionate and I guess I have nothing to lose. Well, I have a lot to lose, but I don't think it would be inappropriate for me to say at this point that I really would support Matt Beekman to be the public member. When he left, I was very sad because he was the most qualified as far as I was concerned among all of you, because he's well educated and he was very passionate about LAFCO. So please, guys, get attention with LAFCO for the right reasons. That's all I ask. So goodbye. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, Annabelle. Okay, our next meeting is set for May 24th, 2017, and there'll be no other business. This meeting is adjourned.